2026 will expose everything you avoided in the past. Not your dreams. Not your intentions. Your habits. If you're watching this right now, there's a quiet truth you don't say out loud. You know something in your life must change. Not later. Not someday. Now. Because deep down, you feel it. The gap between who you are and who you could have been. This is not another motivational speech. This is a warning, a wake-up call, and a roadmap. This is how one ordinary American rebuilt his life in 2026. And how you can do the same. January 3, 2026. Columbus, Ohio. Ethan Miller sat in his car outside a closed office building. 2 weeks ago, this place had his badge. His desk. His routine. Now it had nothing for him. At 39 years old, Ethan wasn't broke. But he was empty. He had done everything right. College degree. Stable job. Played it safe. And yet, here he was. No direction. No fire. No confidence. Jim Rohn once said, "If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree." But Ethan had lived like one. Rooted in comfort, afraid to move. Ethan's problem wasn't failure. It was comfort. Comfort waking up late. Comfort scrolling at night. Comfort saying, "I'll start next year." In America, comfort doesn't look dangerous. It looks like stability. But Jim Rohn warned. Comfort is the greatest thief of potential. Ethan had traded growth for ease. And 2026 came to collect the bill. That night, Ethan sat alone in his apartment. No TV. No phone. Just silence. And silence is dangerous. Because it tells the truth. He realized something painful. No one was coming to save him. Not the government. Not the company. Not motivation videos. His life was his responsibility. That realization hurt. But it also freed him. A week later, Ethan attended a free community workshop at a library. He didn't expect much. But one sentence changed everything. An older man stood up and said, "Your income will never exceed your personal development." The man's name was Robert Hayes. A retired business owner. After the session, Robert looked at Ethan and asked, "Are you working harder on your job? Or on yourself?" Ethan couldn't answer. Because the truth was obvious. Robert shared a Jim Rohn principle. We all must suffer one of two pains. Discipline or regret. Ethan had lived with regret quietly for years. Regret of not trying. Regret of not learning. Regret of staying small. Robert didn't offer sympathy. He offered direction. Robert said, "Give me 90 days of discipline. Not motivation. Discipline." Rules were simple. Wake up 1 hour earlier. Read 10 pages daily. Walk every morning. Write goals by hand. No excuses. No fancy system. Just consistency. The first month was brutal. Ethan's mind fought back. This won't work. Others have more talent. Why bother? Jim Rohn explained this perfectly. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. Ethan learned to act despite his feelings. And that changed everything. Something powerful happened around day 47. Ethan didn't feel motivated. But he showed up anyway. And that's when he understood. Discipline creates confidence. Not the other way around. He was no longer trying. He was becoming. Robert taught him another truth. You don't get paid for time. You get paid for value. Ethan began learning. Communication. Sales psychology. Emotional control. Leadership. Not to impress, but to increase market value. Ethan applied for jobs again. Rejections came. Emails ignored. Calls unanswered. Old Ethan would have quit. New Ethan adjusted. Jim Rohn said, "Failure is simply a few errors in judgment, repeated daily." So Ethan corrected the errors. And kept going. On day 89, Ethan got a call. A mid-size company needed someone who could communicate clearly, lead calmly, and think long-term. They didn't hire his resume. They hired who he had become. When Ethan hung up the phone, he didn't celebrate. He smiled quietly. Because this wasn't luck. This was earned. Robert's final words stayed with him. Success is not something you chase. It's something you attract. By the person you become. 2026 didn't magically fix Ethan's life. Ethan fixed Ethan. Ethan noticed something strange in the weeks after he got the job. Nothing outside him had dramatically changed. Same apartment. Same city. Same traffic. Same grocery store. But everything inside him was different. He walked slower. He listened more. He spoke with intention. Jim Rohn once said, "Confidence is not, they will like me. Confidence is, I'll be fine if they don't." Ethan finally understood that. He no longer needed approval. He had alignment. Here's a truth no one likes to say. Most people who change eventually go back. Not because they fail, but because success feels unfamiliar. Ethan felt it too. Old friends questioned him. "You've changed. You're too serious now. Relax." What they really meant was, "Your growth makes my comfort uncomfortable." Jim Rohn warned about this. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Ethan made a painful decision. He didn't cut people off. He simply stopped shrinking to fit. 6 months into 2026, Ethan faced a new problem. He was stable again. Income steady. Routine strong. And that's when danger returned. Comfort, again. This is where most rebuilds fail. People confuse progress with arrival. But Jim Rohn was clear. Success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Not practiced until success. Practiced forever. Ethan realized. Rebuilding your life isn't a phase. It's a standard. Discipline doesn't ask for permission. It demands payment. Early mornings when others sleep. Reading when others scroll. Saying no when others say yes. Ethan missed parties. He missed comfort. He missed his old self. But he gained something priceless. Self-respect. And Jim Rohn said it best. Self-respect leads to discipline. Discipline leads to freedom. Something shifted at work. People began asking Ethan questions. Not because he was the smartest, but because he was the calmest. Leadership, he learned, is not a title. It's energy. It's how you respond under pressure. How you listen without interrupting. How you take responsibility without excuses. Jim Rohn believed. The challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude. Be kind, but not weak. Ethan practiced that daily. Late October 2026. A project failed. Not partially. Completely. Deadlines missed. Clients unhappy. Pressure intense. Old fear came back. That voice whispered. "See? You're not enough." Ethan sat alone in his car again. Same place. Different year. This was the real test. Not success. Failure after growth. Jim Rohn warned. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Ethan took responsibility. No excuses. No blame. And something incredible happened. People respected him more. This moment mattered more than the job offer. More than the income. Because Ethan realized something life-changing. Failure no longer controlled his identity. He had built an inner foundation. Habits. Values. Standards. So even when things went wrong, he stayed standing. That's when rebuilding becomes permanent. Ethan wrote this in his notebook. Work harder on yourself than your job. Discipline beats motivation. Success is attracted, not chased. Small habits create massive outcomes. You become what you practice daily. This wasn't theory anymore. This was lived experience. Ethan understood something about 2026 that most people miss. This year doesn't reward noise. It rewards skills, character, emotional control, consistency. Jim Rohn predicted this decades ago. In the future, value will determine income. Not effort. Not intention. Value. On December 15th, Ethan wrote a letter to the man he was on January 3rd. It said, "You weren't broken. You were undisciplined. You didn't lack motivation. You lacked standards. And the moment you raised them, your life followed." Now let's stop the story for a moment. Because this isn't just Ethan's life. This is your moment. Right now. Ask yourself honestly. What habit is quietly destroying your future? What comfort are you protecting? What discipline are you avoiding? Jim Rohn said, days are expensive. When you spend a day, you have one less day to spend. 2026 is spending itself. Are you investing it? Or wasting it? Here is the exact rebuild framework Ethan used. 1. Decide your standard. Not your goal. Your standard. What you tolerate continues. 2. Control the morning. How you start the day controls the day. 3. Learn daily. 10 pages a day equals 3,650 pages a year. 4. Guard your circle. Energy is contagious. 5. Practice discipline. Even when you don't feel like it. Especially then. December 31st, 2026. Ethan stood on his balcony. Fireworks in the distance. Same city. Same life. But a completely different man. He didn't whisper resolutions. He reviewed results. And he smiled. Because this time, he kept the promise. If this story reached you, it's not an accident. It's a signal. 2026 will not slow down for your fear. It will not wait for motivation. So decide, today. Backhand index pointing right, like this video if you're done staying stuck. Backhand index pointing right, comment discipline if you're serious about rebuilding. Backhand index pointing right, share this with someone who needs a wake-up call. Because your future isn't found. It's built. And it starts now.